This is CBN NewsWatch.
It is Thursday, December 17th. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, the big snow, the first major winter storm of the season, slamming much of the eastern part of the United States. It's a book about why teenagers are coming out as transgender, so why a trans activist trying to ban the book. Trump 2024, the president's campaign floating the idea of the president running again, but could it also create problems for other Republicans? And Hanukkah, a celebration like no other in Jerusalem, and we're going to show you why it was so historic. All those stories and more are ahead in today's edition of CBN NewsWatch. Want to begin this half hour with the heavy snow, gusty winds, and sleet, marking the East Coast's first major storm of the winter season, which began arriving Wednesday. Parts of western Maryland to southern New England are expecting more than a foot of snow, and some places might get even more. Hundreds of crashes were reported as the powerful storm hammered the Northeast. George Thomas is on the story.
Winter storm Gail, stretching some 1,000 miles, barreled into the mid-Atlantic and Northwest Wednesday, bringing snow, sleet, and high winds. Cleanup crews now hitting the roads, while some car owners likely spending the day getting in touch with their insurance companies about accidents on those icy roads. Two members of an EMS crew on the scene of this accident near Pittsburgh. Lucky to be all right after narrowly escaping this crash. From Virginia.
Here in the northern Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, just a few hours west of the Capitol Beltway, a steady snow fell throughout the day as temperatures hovered in the 20s. Residents here braced for snowfall totals of up to a foot or more.
To New York City, Philadelphia, and Boston.
It sucks when all the snow's hitting your face, you know, it kind of stings a little.
The nor'easter packing heavy snow, sleet, and stiff winds. Some areas in New York and New Jersey could see as much as 2 feet of snow by the end of today. The powerful storm creating treacherous driving conditions in affected areas. On Interstate 80 near Clinton County, Pennsylvania, a 60-car pileup resulting in 2 deaths. More than 1,300 flights were canceled, and residents along the storm's path urged to stay off the roads today.
If you must travel, be sure you have an emergency supply kit for your vehicle and that it is up to date.
In Pennsylvania, the governor there saying his state was prepared to continue distribution of the coronavirus vaccine despite the snowstorm. While crews work around the clock to keep folks safe on the roads today, many taking time in these parts to enjoy winter's first snowstorm.
It's been a while. It's been a while since we've seen some snow as heavy as it's coming down.
George Thomas, CBN News.
Want to turn now to the coronavirus. Another high-profile figure has tested positive. French President Emmanuel Macron. He will isolate himself for 7 days while he keeps working. In Washington, Republicans and Democrats are making progress on a new economic stimulus bill. The new bill would include stimulus checks of about $600 to $700 for some Americans. Another record for deaths, more than 3,600 Wednesday. This comes as the Food and Drug Administration is expected to approve Moderna's COVID vaccine. And both President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President Mike Pence are set to get virus vaccine shots. Vice President Pence and other members of the White House team reflected Wednesday on the multiple pro-life accomplishments during the Trump administration. The vice president mentioned how his boss, President Trump, stopped American dollars from going overseas to pay for abortions, put more than 200 pro-life judges on the bench, and helped to deal a financial blow to America's #1 abortion provider.
I had the honor of casting the tie-breaking vote in the United States Senate to allow every state in America to defund Planned Parenthood.
Kayleigh McEnany made it personal, talking about her holding her newborn daughter as she took the job of White House press secretary.
I started to cry because I was like, I'm going to miss my little baby, and my tears started to fall on her face, and all of a sudden, she let out, I swear it was her first smile. And it was God's way of saying, you go do what you need to do. And I'll tell you what this president did when he first offered me the job. He said this, is your daughter going to be okay? Because he is a president that supports moms. He's a president that supports life. Babies are babies at the moment of conception. No excuses. And it is not about a woman's right to choose. It is about a human being's right to live.
I know what all of you know as well, that he who said, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, is about life. And we do well in this movement to always remind ourselves that when we make the cause for life our cause, we make his work on this earth our very own.
It is a top-selling transgender book that many activists actually hate. It looks at why groups of teenage girls are suddenly coming out as transgender. For that, activists are not only denouncing the book, they're trying to ban it. Heather Sells has the story.
Author Abigail Schreier believes it's okay for adults to have medical procedures changing their appearance to fit their desired gender. But she's against that freedom extending to children. Her new book chronicles the transgender craze among adolescent girls and the professionals who pave the way for them to get puberty blockers and surgeries.
All I'm asking for is more medical oversight, caution, and awareness that this is being a socially driven fad. Nothing so outrageous at all.
But transgender activists say no to that.
The outcry against the book comes from some critics that you might not expect. The American Civil Liberties Union, which has defended free speech for 100 years, calls the book dangerous and says we have to fight these ideas which are leading to a criminalization of trans life.
An ACLU attorney wants to stop sales of the book. A UC Berkeley professor called for it to be burned, then reversed herself and now merely wants to mock it. Top booksellers have even helped the cause. Amazon blocked ads from the publisher, and Target agreed to ban the book after some customer complaints. Now Target has the book listed again, but it's sold out.
I think these retailers, and there are very few of them who control all the books at this point, they will at whim, I suppose, disappear books when they've decided that it's in their interest to do so.
For now, the backlash is helping. Regnery Publishing reports that after the Target ban, the book's daily sales jumped from 40 to 800. Irreversible Damage has now gone to a third printing, and it has enjoyed time as Amazon's #1 best-selling book on LGBT demographic studies.
The book had a lot of grassroots support from parents who feel like they have no other voice. They have lived through the horror of having their daughter suddenly identify as transgender out of nowhere and have every adult around her undermine the parents and push her towards transition.
Schreier, who writes for the Wall Street Journal and Newsweek, says mainstream media has generally refused to review her book. She also predicts a new trend. Any upcoming books that challenge so-called woke politics will simply disappear, unable to survive in a hostile marketplace. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Coming up, Donald Trump for president in 2024. The idea is being floated by the Trump campaign, but if he does run again, how would that affect other possible Republican candidates? We're going to take a look at that story when we come back.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Catholic Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Watch Christian World News, Saturday at 5 p.m. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Should President Trump run for re-election in 2024? The Trump campaign asked that question in an email sent Tuesday night to raise money for the Republican candidates in the Georgia Senate runoff elections. While some are excited about the possibility of another Trump candidacy, it could complicate the plans of other Republicans who also have their eyes on the White House and the rest of the party. Senior Washington correspondent Tara Mershiner shows us why it's become a conversation on both sides of the aisle.
Many experts agree Donald Trump is unique in the strength he would have as a one-term president. The question, will he use it to pursue the Oval Office again should efforts to claim the 2020 election fall short?
We will still win it. We will still win it.
Rallying support for 2 critical Georgia Senate races, President Trump insists his campaign can still prevail.
We've never lost an election.
Since Election Day, the president and his allies have seen more than 30 cases tossed out of court.
It's rigged. It's a fixed deal.
Despite reassurances about ultimate victory, the president already hinting he's ready to run again, from an aggressive fundraising effort to remarks at a White House Christmas party.
He controls the loyalty of a very significant portion of the Republican electorate, particularly the Republican electorate that votes in primaries. And he obviously has the ability to finance a race.
And while the idea may delight the base for the moment, there's concern it will freeze the GOP field of potentially strong up-and-comers.
He sucks all of the oxygen out of the room for every other single candidate who was thinking about running. For example, Mike Pence, obviously, Nikki Haley, Tom Cotton was thinking about getting in, Kristi Noem, the governor of South Dakota, and there's a whole long list.
Instead of the usual activities like planning fundraisers, building support, and courting early voting states, GOP hopefuls would have little choice but to wait and watch for fear of turning away Trump's large and loyal base. Republican strategist Tom Rath says, though, there is an appetite within the party for new blood.
I think there's built up energy in the Republican Party to move generationally, but not just generationally, but also ideologically.
Still, under the U.S. Constitution, President Trump has the right to pursue the Oval Office again for a second term if he's sent packing after the first.
The degree to which they are intimidated and frightened by this president is unbelievable.
How much of the spotlight and influence a former President Trump can keep remains to be seen.
I think Democrats are going to see Donald Trump potentially running in 2024 as a sideshow. I really do. I mean, I think they're not going to pay much attention to it until they have to. And that could be in 2024.
And as Biden prepares to take the helm next month, Democrats insist they are too disciplined to be distracted.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, you know, they're walking into a really challenging situation with the economy, with this pandemic. I think they've got so much on their plate. The last thing that they're going to really be worrying about is what Trump is tweeting from, Mar-a-Lago.
There's talk Mr. Trump will try to steal some of Biden's Inauguration Day thunder by skipping the swearing in and announcing his bid on January 20th. Meanwhile, President Trump wouldn't be the first defeated president to win a second non-consecutive term. That honor belongs to the 22nd and 24th president of the United States, Grover Cleveland. In Washington, I'm Tara Mergener, CBN News.
Still ahead, President-elect Joe Biden has made it clear as president he's going to take on climate change, and he has a variety of plans he could put into action. But critics warn some of those proposals could be bad news for the American economy. We're going to hear from one of them when we come back.
Too often, we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
To make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears.
Now you can own the inspiring documentary To Life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
We know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com to get your copy today.
President-elect Joe Biden says once he is sworn in as president, it will be full steam ahead on combating climate change. Biden says the United States will rejoin the 2015 Paris Accord on his first day in office. He also promises to hold a global climate summit within the first 100 days. So are the Green New Deal and global carbon tax coming to the United States, or will Biden propose something else? On this week's episode of the Global Lane, CO2 Coalition Executive Director Gregory Wrightstone says Joe Biden is going to take the country to a place that is very unpleasant for everyone in America.
I'm in the middle of putting the final touches on a new commentary. The title is Joe Biden and His Climate Plan, Be Afraid, Be Very Afraid. And we can tell how serious it is by who he's putting on his administration. He started with John Kerry as his climate czar, if you will. Now, John Kerry he's a true blue, dyed-in-the-wool climate extremist who really believes the earth is going to end unless we act now. Other people, I think, mouth the words, but he's a true believer. And what's interesting about Kerry and kind of scary is that 3 years ago, he stated, no matter what the United States did about climate change in terms of reducing our emissions, it wouldn't have anything to do with changing the world's temperature at all. We would have no effect on climate change. And the reason he said was because India and China continue to escalate their emissions by building more coal fires, mainly China. I could very well see John Kerry making a trip and coming back home waving a signed document by Xi in his hand saying, I've saved the earth, I've saved the planet. The Chinese are going to reduce their emissions by X percent by 2050. And, well, we had to get rid of we had to undo all that tariffs and all the good work that's gone on for the last 4 years trying to flatten the playing field with China. So that's a real danger right there with Kerry. And we also look at the other people he's appointing there, Janet Yellen at Treasury, actually. You're going, what does Treasury have to do with this? But I think it's likely Joe might impose some type of climate emergency like the COVID emergency about climate. And Janet Yellen's been a huge, huge supporter of carbon taxation scheme. She calls it a free market solution to to the climate change problem. I call it a solution in search of a problem.
And Greg, that would be very costly to the U.S. I mean, some people are estimating as much as $90 trillion over 10 years. How could we afford that as a nation? Would that bankrupt the country?
It'd put us on our knees, economically put us on our knees. It would, and that's what the Chinese want. This is going right in with their scheme. Boy, they would love nothing better than to impose a carbon tax on America and on the Western world. It would cripple us economically. It would elevate the Chinese economy because they're not going to do anything. We know that.
Is that the goal, Greg? Is that the real goal, Greg, in all of this? Because I know Biden pledges to reduce carbon emissions in the USA to net zero, and by 2050 saying it would be good for the economy because it would create jobs. Also, Governor Gavin Newsom, right? He's already said gasoline-powered automobiles will be phased out in California by 2035. So both men support phasing out coal and oil and gas fracking, but what about the jobs? What do you think of those steps?
You got to make sacrifices. We all have to, we'll lose millions and millions of jobs, and it's going to cost you a lot more each year for everything you buy. The goal of a carbon taxation scheme is to raise the cost of energy, electricity, gasoline, everything else, and make those types of energy uncompetitive against their so-called clean brethren in wind and solar. There's a growing backlash against wind power throughout the world.
And Biden also wants the Department of Defense, the U.S. military, to lead the way on carbon reduction. What do you think of that idea?
You can't make this stuff up. His 6 priorities is number 6 on the list is security of the nation for the military. For the military, that's number 6. The other climate change came in at number 4 for the military priorities. It's too scary you can't laugh at it. If somebody was writing a novel, you go, come on, nobody would do that. But they are. They're prioritizing this, and his plan is a global. His plan for carbon tax is really a regressive taxation scheme, and by that I mean that the poorest among us pay the highest percentage of their income on energy, and if you increase the cost of that energy, which that's their stated goal, is to increase energy costs, it's impacting the poorest among us the most. If you're making $300,000 a year, well, $40,000 for energy costs, that's not much. But if you're making $50,000, it's a lot. It's not a good idea, and it's going to be very economically crippling here to the United States.
Also tonight on the Global Lane, who could have been behind the powerful hack of the federal government's computers and the outlook for the economy in the year ahead. And you can watch the Global Lane this evening at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel. Coming up, a holiday scene that would have been considered inconceivable just a few months ago as visitors from Islamic countries traveled to Jerusalem for a Jewish celebration. We're going to bring you the amazing story when we come back. Stay with us.
It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
Watch On the Home Front today at 2:30. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
if you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
The Middle East peace deals earlier this year, known as the Abraham Accords, keep on breaking new barriers between Israel and Islamic countries. The latest example involves a celebration of great Jewish victory more than 2,000 years ago. As Chris Mitchell reports, that breakthrough took place in Jerusalem during the Jewish Festival of Lights, Hanukkah.
In a scene once thought impossible, a delegation from Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates came to Jerusalem this week and helped light the Hanukkah candles at Jerusalem's Western Wall.
It's my first time in Israel, and I believe it's a historic time to be in Israel. An amazing place, a great nation, and the most important thing is a lot of lovely people who want peace.
Both countries recently normalized relations with Israel in what's become known as the Abraham Accords, brokered by the Trump administration. Israeli President Reuven Rivlin welcomed the delegation to his home.
Such a pleasure. When we are talking about peace, it's people to people.
The delegation, which included business people, academics, and bloggers, is part of the Sharaka Project, a unified effort from the 3 countries to grow relationships between young people in Israel and these Arab states. Sharaka is an Arabic word for cooperation.
God bless all of you and welcome, welcome.
Thank you. It's a new era and we're so happy for it.
And let's look forward that you will be the bridge to bring a lot of understanding between all the people in the region.
The Abraham Accords help unify the Arab states and Israel against their common enemy, Iran. They also challenge conventional wisdom that peace would only be possible after resolving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The next major development could be a visit by Israeli President Reuven Rivlin and Prime Minister Netanyahu to the UAE and Bahrain. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Time now for your Thursday Thankful, and today I leave you with this prayer of gratitude. God, there is so much I don't understand, but in these moments where I can't trace your hand, I choose to trust your heart. Help me to remember that choice and help me to return to that choice in those moments that I wander away. With that prayer, I want you to be sure to make today a thankful Thursday and do that on purpose. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. I want to remind you, you can always watch more of our programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there at any time. You can also find them at any time on CBNnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us at that address right there at the bottom of your screen, newswatch@cbn.com. We'd love for you to also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We would love to hear from you. Thank you again for joining us and look forward to seeing you right back here next time. Goodbye, everybody, and God bless.